Listen, my children, and you shall hear the Midnight Rider of Paul Revere. On 18th of April in 1775, hardly a man was now alive. Who remembers that famous day and year?
He said to his friend, if the British march by land or sea, hang from the town tonight, hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arch of the North Church Tower as a signal light, one if by land, two if by sea.
And I on the opposite shore will be ready to spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm.
Then he said goodnight with muffled oar, silently rowed to Charleston's shore. Just as the moon rose over a bay, where swinging wide at her moorings lay,
a phantom ship with each mast and spar across the moon like a prison bar, and a huge black hulk, that's magnified by its own reflection in the tide.
Meanwhile, his friends through alley and street wanders and watches with eager ears. In the silence around him he hears.
Then he climbed to the tower of the Old North Church by wooden stairs with stealthy tread to the belfry tower overhead. Then he startled the pigeons from their perch.
On the summery raft that made him masses and where he paused to listen and looked down a moment on the roofs of the town, and the moonlight flowing over all. Beneath the churchyard lay the dead. In their encampment, in the night of the encampment on the hill,
Of the lonely belfry and the dead, for suddenly all his thoughts are bent on a shadow, something far away, a line of black that bends and floats on the rising tide like a bridge of boats.
Meanwhile, impatient to mount and ride, booted and spurred with a heavy stride, on the opposite shore walked Paul Revere.
Mostly watched with eager search the belfry tower of the Old North Church, as it rose above the graves on the hill, lonely and spectral, somber and still, and low as he looked on the belfry's height.
a glimmer and then a gleam of light. He springs to the saddle, the bridle he turns, but lingers and gazes till full on his sight. A second lamp in the briefly light.
A hurry of folks in the village street, a shape in moonlight, a walk in the dark, and beneath from the pebbles and passing a spark, struck out by a steed, flying fearless and fleet. That was all, and yet in the gloom and the light, the fate of a nation was riding that night.
And the spark struck out by that steed, in his flight, kindled the land into flame with its heat. He has left the village and mounted the steep, and beneath him, tranquil and broad and deep,
Is the mystic ocean tides that meets the ocean tides, and under the alders that skirt its edge, now soft on the sand and loud on the ledge. It is heard his steed as he writes.
It was 12 by the village clock as he crossed the bridge into Medford town. He heard the crowing of the cock and the barking of the farmer's dog, and felt the damp of the river fog.
as it rises after the sun goes down.
It was won by the village clock as he galloped into Lexington when he saw the gilded weathercock swim in the moonlight as he passes the house meeting windows black and bare as they gaze at him with a spectral glare. As they already stood aghast upon the bloody work they would look upon.
It was 2 by the village clock when he rode into Concord town. He heard the bleating of the flock and the twitter of birds among the trees, and felt the breath of the morning breeze blowing over the meadow brown. And one was safe and asleep in his bed, who at the bridge would be first to fall, who that day would be lying dead, pierced by a British musket ball.
You know the rest in the books that you have read, how the British regulars fired and fled, how the farmers gave them ball for ball from the behind each fence and farmyard wall.
Chasing the redcoats down the lane, then in the fields to come up again.
So through the night rode Paul Revere, through the night went alarm, through every Middlesex village and farm, a cry of defiance and not a fear, a voice into the darkness and knock on the door, word that will echo forevermore.
We're born on the night wind of the past, through all the history to the left. In the hour of darkness and pearl and need, the people will awaken and listen to the hurrying hoofbeats of that steed.